I wanted to be in Slytherin, but every time I took the test, it was giving me Gryffindor, and I was like, no.
Just like growing up, I looked at people in the media and I was like, doesn't look like me, doesn't sound like me. I couldn't relate to anybody.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 18 of the FBE Podcast.
We're legal.
We are legal in America. We were legal in several European countries like a couple episodes ago, but we're at least legal now. Depends what you're asking about, what you're legal about. Anyway, this is Jonathan, one of your friendly co-hosts of the FBE Podcast. We have Benny with us this week.
Thank you for the introduction first. I appreciate it in this strange chair that I'm not used to sitting in. You were just referred to yourself as Jonathan, I think, for the first time in your life.
And I'll tell you why in a second. I honestly, I think I'm a little bit of a Freudian slip there. Anyway, Benny, yay! We all have to give Benny a round of applause because he gets very self-conscious when I don't give him enough recognition. Or is it Rafi that gets angry when he doesn't get enough recognition?
I don't know. I'm just glad for the recognition.
Joining us this week, two incredibly special guests from our Adults React cast. Alluding a little bit to my Freudian slip earlier, because again, I've never called myself that. Our special guest this week, the actual Jonathan. Jonathan, say hello.
There could only be one.
There can only be one, and we're thankful it's him. And also alongside Jonathan this week, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Ary.
Ary, also from Adults React. So we have both Jonathan and Ary here. We're going to get into a ton of questions about React and their experience and what they knew about prior to the show and how they felt going through the experience after it, and it's going to be fantastic.
I will let people know who are watching this, and if it happens in the middle, this is being recorded while it's Game 4 of the American League Division Series, and I'm a self-loathing...
American
baseball, self-loathing Yankees fan, but so I have the game on mute, and if it gets close, I'm going to leave to focus, but hopefully...
Only because it's more important than the rest of us. I just want us to understand
Look, this is just these things. I like baseball a lot, and if it gets too close, I have to focus, so hopefully that doesn't happen because they're winning right now.
Honestly, Rafi's around here somewhere. So if Benny leaves, we'll tag Rafi in. It'll be a better podcast.
They're leading by 3 right now. So wait a second. You slipped that in.
Yeah.
This is the FBE Podcast. This is a podcast where we get to hang out with you guys for a little longer than however long our staff react episodes go these days. But we actually hang out for at least a full hour after hours. This is usually shot at the end of the day on Mondays. We put up the audio on Thursday, and the video goes out Friday on the FBE channel currently. We try and answer as many of your questions as possible. When we have our special guests, we put it out there on Instagram and Snapchat and Twitter. We try and solicit questions from you guys, or you guys leave questions on previous podcast episodes using the hashtag FBE Podcast. We answer as many as we can. It's generally what we do here. We have a bunch of questions already for these guys, which we're going to jump into in a second here, and then a bunch of questions just for the company and kind of YouTube industry overall, as well as some company news and other things that we can tease and update the 5% on, which is, again, what we call our loving contingent of the small group of folks that actually...
people who show up just to leave the comment, we're aware that the views are extremely low on the podcast. We know.
It's cool people only. 5% cool people.
It's elitist now.
That's what I say. Benny likes to say, no. Like, anybody that watches any of our stuff is amazing, fantastic human beings. And I agree.
You have to be that 5%.
I agree. But there's also a cool people club, and that's 5%. The people that can hear this voice. So before we jump into that, before we jump into some company news or some teasing segments, give us a little, very quick kind of a background on who you guys are, if people aren't familiar. How long have you been on the show? Like that kind of thing. Who wants to start?
Well, ladies first.
Okay. Well, my name's Ary, aka known as the emo lady, emo girl on all the comments because I do read them
emo
sometimes.
Emo girl.
Mexican emo goth girl. I've been with the Fine Bros for like 2 years, and it's been pretty cool. It's crazy. Like when people like actually know who I am in real life, I'm like, oh my God, leave me alone. But yeah, it's a fun time.
Jonathan.
Hi, I'm Jonathan. I'm the guy with the crazy hair.
Is that the comments about you as the crazy hair guy?
There's a lot of other ones that are way more hateful. But that's what I like to stick with. And I've been filming for 2 years with Adults React.
What I'll say, because I know I'm not supposed to go off the rails yet and hold on to this, but what I would say about both of you guys, I would say you're two of the most open members of the Adults React cast in terms of, like, barring the topic, neither of you will shy away from opening up emotionally to the thing you're talking about, and you're both that's what stands out to me about both of you, is very much like, oh, depending on the episode, you're going to really hear what Ary and Jonathan have to say, regardless of what the comments are going to be afterwards.
Oh, yeah. Can we use profanity?
Not the F. Don't drop the F-bomb.
I was just like...
You can refer to it as the F-bomb.
See, on the show you can.
Yeah, I really appreciate that because I feel like the Fine Brothers brand is just really thoughtful. And I feel like I owe it to be honest and thoughtful and really open to everybody.
Well, that's even the thing, and I will stop so we can stay on track, but that very much is something that is true and that I think a lot of people dismiss from how much reaction content is now around on YouTube, of not realizing what FBE really makes, and that it really is about opinions and conversation and dialogue, not just, oh, what's this fun clip? We're always going to make you think about it in a different way. But we'll get into that in a little bit, but I appreciate both of you on the show so much because you are both so
It's
open.
very easy to have a very kind of guarded, filtered, or like fake opinion of something, or to say what you think people want to hear, or just play to the very specific mainstream reaction to something. So when you hear honest, real feedback that gives you a much better idea of who somebody is.
Well, here we are in the
powerful.
introductions. You have both of our reactors talking about the fact of all of the negative things said about them in comments, but they don't care, and here they are.
Bring it on.
It's never going to stop them from saying it.
How about we add that 1 extra %? Let's get to 6% for it to be like hateful comments. Bring it on.
There's not a lot of hateful comments on this podcast, except no one's watching this from people who are swinging through.
Benny, what can you tell us about FBE this week? Is there anything we can tease or news that we want to share?
Yeah, there's a couple of things to talk about. Though ironic, if you're watching this on YouTube, we're going to talk about Facebook. We're going to talk about Facebook. That's going to be our update here. So if you don't know, which is also so interesting, because I remember us doing a Teens React episode recently about a video that went very, very viral, but on Facebook, and that wasn't like a YouTube viral thing. And there was like a couple of the teens that were like, oh, I've been hearing that things are going viral on Facebook. And the rest of them were like, Facebook? No one's on Facebook, not realizing just how massive the platform has
Everybody
become.
Older than you is in love with Facebook.
It is true. There was ways, especially if you watch Teens React from the beginning, where we had a Facebook-themed episode where the father who shot the laptop of his daughter, it was a big viral video, and all the teens then were like, oh, Facebook this, and I can't believe that. And then you fast forward to like a year after that, everyone's like, no one's on Facebook anymore. My mom's on Facebook, and here we are now. But so FBE has a pretty large presence on Facebook, and it's been growing pretty steadily over the last year. There's almost 2 million people now on the page of the FBE page, which is really exciting, and we're getting huge amounts of view counts there. That becomes an interesting thing, that there's a lot of the FBE and probably some of the 5% watch us on Facebook and not YouTube, which is hard to wrap your head around when you're so used to YouTube being the only game in town, but it truly is not the case anymore. And I even posted a question over there, or somebody did in the social team, about asking for like a topic suggestion, and we got like almost 1,000 comments over there. So there's a robust community. So let us know in the comments if you actually watch us on Facebook. I'm very curious about that.
Let us know in the YouTube comments if you watch us on Facebook.
Yes, exactly. But even to the point of certain episodes do huge numbers over there compared to how they do on YouTube. Now, I always say this because for 10 years I've been the person on panels about not all the view counts are accurate. And I would say Facebook, because it still counts views even when it's mute and you're scrolling past it, it counts as a view. So that's why you see these massive inflated view count numbers. I like to say that maybe 3/8 of the views are maybe accurate, is what I would say.
It's a very unique percentage you're pulling out of the
something
blue
like
there.
that. Because you can tell when there's lots of shares and comments that a lot of people are watching it, but it's not to the number I'm about to talk about. So, for example, we had a Kids React to AC/DC episode several months back that did pretty well on YouTube, but has now had over 80 million views on Facebook. Nothing,
which is bigger than anything on YouTube
by like 30 million.
Yeah.
So it's insane. So do I think that's a true 80 million? No. But I think it's been shared like an insane amount of time. So there's a huge amount of views on that. And even we talk a lot on the podcast about the realities that certain episodes, with the way the algorithm now is on YouTube, that views will be down or underperform. So there's an element, though, of the Facebook side of it when we're programming and coming up with ideas of thinking, will this do well with a slightly older demographic? So, for example, we did Kids React to Led Zeppelin pretty recently, and that quote-unquote underperformed on YouTube. I don't even think the episode's at 1 million views yet on YouTube. But over at Facebook, multi-millions of views. And even things that do well, like, do adults know Disney Channel original movies? I don't know if
anything Disney, anything on Disney.
Were either of you in that one?
I was on that one.
You were on that one?
Yeah.
No.
Were you excited about all the original films?
I was so excited, but like I was so mad that I didn't remember like Johnny Tsunami. I was like,
Do they know it's tough? They put you on the spot. But that did about 1 million views pretty quickly on YouTube. Has 8 million in a day or something over at Facebook. So Facebook's a growing community.
Facebook loves Disney.
And Facebook loves lots of things. It's crazy. So again, very curious if you're starting to find video at Facebook. So if you're also unaware, industry-wise, Facebook has been heavily emphasizing video over there. So there's now a whole section of the site called Watch that's now on the left if you look. And inside of Watch, they're spotlighting lots of different content, some from across kind of the site. So you'll find some of our videos there as like what's new or what's popular right now will spring up there. But they're also now having content that they're actually funding and creating. So over time, from what I've been reading and finding out from Facebook directly, they are going to be kind of in the YouTube Red, Netflix kind of world. They are looking to spend lots of money to make like TV quality shows on Facebook for free. So that's probably coming. But for right now, there's like shorter form content being made by a variety of people, including like BuzzFeed and some of those types of companies. I think even Brandon Rogers, the YouTuber, just launched something on Facebook Watch. But we, FBE, have a couple of shows that we're going to be making. So these are low budget in the sense of we're not making the giant Netflix show. That's not what they're funding us to do, at least not yet. But we talk about a lot too how we're not able to do certain content anymore on the channel. Primarily like scripted content has like completely gone away when that was a staple of FBE for 10 years because it's just not sustainable. It costs too much to make those things. So Facebook is stepping in to kind of elevate a little bit of what their short form content's going to be. And we're actually bringing back the Reverse Ratings animated series that we did 3 episodes of on the channel, which if you're unfamiliar, look up R-rated Frozen or G-rated Fight Club or R-rated Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I'm sorry, I know Philosopher's Stone, but it's Sorcerer's Stone here, sorry. But so we did 3 of those and they did really well and everyone really loved it. It's like, do more. It's like animation. We lost so many thousands of dollars making those animated shorts that I thought we'd never be able to make them again, but we're actually going to be able to bring them back because Facebook is going to be helping us make them. So there's going to be a handful of those and a brand new format starring the kids of Kids React and doing something completely brand new out of office in a different way that, again, production values that we can't
kids
do.
In the world.
Yeah, so I'm not going to give away that completely, but it's going to be a brand new format that we could never do just on our own. So we're excited about that.
Have you guys seen the new Facebook Watch thing? I don't know if you guys even have Facebook on
time
your
to
phone.
reactivate that Facebook, people, because I don't have that.
It's basically like a new tab in Facebook that's YouTube, but on Facebook.
I'm gonna ask my mom.
It's still new and they're figuring out exactly because you can't really search for video still. There's still things that are shifting. I think it's going to become more and more like YouTube over time. But it's exciting to be in the spot that FBE is one of the companies being reached out to in the beginnings of this initiative to experiment with Facebook. And so we're very excited about that.
Jay, have you used the new watch feature on Facebook?
This is a problem, Facebook. We'll get on that.
We're working on it.
Last thing I'll bring up is that a couple weeks ago we talked about potential reacceptions coming up, which we've been able to do a lot recently, and we talked about how the Backstreet Boys were going to be coming on to react to the Backstreet Boy Teens React episode, and then they rescheduled. But it's still going to happen from what we hear, but they weren't available on the day we were supposed to film, so that's the update there. But they will hopefully, at least 2 of them, will be in to react.
Which 2?
I know.
I don't know. We'll have to see. People will be disappointed if it's not their favorite, but hopefully that will still happen over time.
None were my favorite.
And also, in the same vein as like sometimes we don't have just a reacception, we have just guest stars, like Maisie Williams years ago from Game of Thrones, or Eliza Taylor from The 100 that has come on and just been in episodes, just on Adults React featuring them. So members of the band Echo Smith are going to be coming in to react to some stuff this week, I think. So they'll be in episodes over the next couple of weeks. So we've just been in touch with their people. They're fans of what we do, and they're just coming on to react. They're probably not sure what they're going to react to yet, but I think one of the things they're going to participate in is a Guess That Song against each other, which I think is fun because they're a band to be in that type of content. So that's really cool. And we recently did a Swoozie episode of College Kids React. Are either of you guys Swoozie fans?
I
know what that is.
I know.
I watched like I don't know if all his videos are like the animated. Like I watched like the Disney ones. All his Disney stories would crack me up. But.
That's the thing. That's how me and Swoozie became friends, because when that video went viral, I used to work at Walt Disney World. And in the same theme park that he was talking about in the videos, I couldn't believe all the references. I'm like, this is all true. This is exactly what we do. So I wrote him. This was because he blew up because of that video. And I was like, I used to work. He's like, no way. And I'm pretty sure I know some of the managers that he's talking about in that video because I was there during that time. But anyway, we did that. And so a lot of times everyone is always like, the YouTuber should react back. The YouTuber should react back. But some channels like his, that's not really what he does on his channel. And he's not just going to randomly do a reaction video. And that's not his brand. It's not what he does. So we're talking with him about, even though he is a YouTuber and he's on YouTubers React all the time, of having him react to that episode, but on our channel. So there's still a way to do that. So we're in touch with him about that too.
Nice.
like a baby metal, little baby metal episode. Okay, so lots of stuff going on, but we also have lots of questions for Ary and Jonathan. Benny, I don't know.
I'm going to just start. I'll just go.
Okay,
I always
you can
riff.
start.
Here we go. So both of your first episode was the same episode. Are you aware of that?
No. Yeah, I am now.
Oh my god. Ugh.
It's a don't judge me.
Yeah.
That
That's
judge me
Yeah.
challenge.
That was Adults React episode 2, second episode.
Wow. TBT.
And you were both there, that first episode. How does that feel? Why are you
That's
sighing
a
about
long
that?
time ago.
It's only a couple of years ago.
Yeah, 2.
That was when I was still reading comments.
And you've just learned to stop.
And just
Yeah.
not.
Which is
I
probably
actually
the
stopped
better.
like after like the first 2.
Yeah, well, that's even part of the questionnaire that we send out for potential people that want to be on, is saying things like, can you handle the
Can you handle
reality of
that?
this? Because it is a thing to deal with, and everyone handles it a different way. I always recommend not looking personally, but I know some, I think you just shrugged a second ago, know that like thrive off of it.
Not
And they're
what
like,
she
whatever.
lives. She
It's just
wants
sometimes,
it.
like, even some of my friends send me like screenshots, and it's just so funny. Some people are hilarious, but I mean, it's something that I don't really care about.
Yeah.
We can go into the whole dynamics of how ridiculous it is to be anonymous people that are just insulting other human beings or having an opinion, and how much it bothers me. But we don't need to get into that. It's part of what we all just have to deal with being on the internet.
Yeah.
Okay, so speaking of the being on the show and the questionnaire, I pulled up your questionnaires.
No.
I stuck with nice things.
I feel like mine was really challenging.
For the audio listeners, Ary is making a very strange face.
Okay, so from
Who was that?
form, Jonathan, this was asking why you wanted to be on the show. Are you ready for your paragraph?
I don't know. I feel like mine was a little scathing. It was like challenging. I felt. I don't know. Maybe not.
All right, and again, we look for opinionated people, so this is what works out. So, though 30 years young, I've seen and experienced a great deal in life, from almost dying from childhood heart disease to going back to school late in life, from feminist punk rocker to now an active caretaker of my little brothers. I've lived through many of the joys and trials life brings, and I would love a chance to share this with others. I also believe people of color are underrepresented in all forms of media, and this would be a great opportunity for not only myself, but for people like me.
Oh my god, that was great. I would have been like
very
hired.
articulate,
Hired.
very well put together.
Thank you. But yeah.
Yeah.
I feel the same way.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And we talked about it in the beginning of the podcast, of like very much throughout your questionnaire and from meeting you, and even how you brought it up yourself, you tapped immediately in however it was that you found our content to really see what we're doing and understand why it's important. And I've seen on your Instagram posts and things like that that you have said things like, even when it was not easy, that you're standing behind your opinion and you're proud of yourself for putting it out there, because it's not easy to do.
No.
Yeah.
That was
it just
great.
makes me really emotional, actually. But that's
That
why
was so
apparently
good.
I cry all the time. I really don't.
I cry all the time.
Hey,
Really
it's either we do or we don't.
Yeah. You're laughing or crying.
But can you speak to that a little bit? That like even to the point of like you would put that in your questionnaire, and that you feel that what the show represents is important.
Well, I saw some people that I feel like I can relate to, but there's still just like growing up, I looked at people in the media and I was like, doesn't look like me, doesn't sound like me, you know, like how do I couldn't relate to anybody. And I know there was a lot of people like my friends who watched the videos, who watched them more than I did, and they're just like, something else, let's add something else. And I was like, why not? I can do it. And I really not really thinking that anything would come of it. Like it was just like praying to the patron saint of insomnia at like 3:00 in the morning, you know. I was like, I'll just try it. I have nothing to lose. I was eating ramen a lot. Like I was really broke at the time. And I was like, why not?
So Ary, you said on why you wanted to be on the show. I should have maybe I should have started with you.
Who is she?
It would be an amazing experience to see behind the scenes and see how much hard work goes into putting out these weekly videos. So you've now been under the hood for 2 years. You see what it takes. You've seen us, even from Adults React, which was a new thing back then. You've seen how much we've grown even since then. How do you feel about seeing the behind the scenes?
I mean, it's cool. It's cool meeting like all the people that work here. At first I was like, oh, you know, like Benny and Rafi. But then I come here and I'm just like, damn. Like, it's so many people, and it's so hot in the room with all the lights. Kind of like, I thought it was just like, oh, like, it's just going to be chill. And then you have, like, these big lights, and it's kind of, like, at first, it's a little bit, like, nerve-wracking, but it's fun. Everyone makes it, like, cool.
I would say, like, it probably the first time's got to potentially be intimidating, depending on your personality type. But I feel like, at least I hope, that and the vibe is still there, but I know what it was like when me and Rafi were in there, like, because you guys were with us for those first handful of tapings even. But there is a vibe that we talk about all the time in that room, that as much as it is the lights and the whatever, we have a way of like, you're just having a conversation and you don't even realize it. Do you agree with that statement?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. And then you just walk in and it's like, oh, damn, like they're there and I'm here. And now it's like, I'm here.
I did appreciate that even in the beginning you're like, oh, it's just Benny and Rafi.
I'm so used to like seeing you guys all the time.
Especially 2 years ago where you guys were much like, even your like voice was more prevalent on the channel and stuff like that. Again, the simplicity of the format and the way that video comes across, like I'm sure there's tons of people, of viewers out there that think like, oh, this could easily be two people just kind of like, you know, in their side room kind of recording this thing. So there's such a huge disconnect between the amount of effort and the amount of people that are required to kind of make this content and the way some people potentially ingest or like, you know, and watch that content. And you guys have a very kind of close-up window.
And testament, because both of you were viewers before you ended up on the show, to then have that feeling of relating to people or feeling like maybe you're underrepresented, which we do take great efforts at and always are continuing and striving for, like what type of person is not on the show. I think our diversity has always been very, very strong, but I think has gotten much, much even stronger as the team has grown, more people to help casting and things like that. Because that's one of my favorite more recent episodes that you both were in is the Selena episode. Yeah, again, talking about emotion and being open to that. And what I just loved about that, when something that you don't think about, but when you go back to the episode, Shelby is the only white person in that entire episode. And that, and like, so it becomes like, oh yeah, because part of it was like, oh, we've got to make sure that we have proper Hispanic representation in the episode and try to have that mix.
Still be diverse.
And then it realizing, oh, interesting that it actually felt like the voice that was the minority was, well, what do white people think about Selena? Felt a little lacking in the episode, which is like, wow, that our diversity's gotten there. And my favorite end screen ever, all in Spanish. Like, you know, like, oh, I love it. Even Cynthia at the end speaking in Spanish from the FBE side. I love the diversity of what we do. That episode, though, hit both of you fairly hard inside of that episode.
It's hard to explain Selena. She's just like almost sainthood. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
when it comes to like, I don't know, Latino backgrounds. Like, just like Morrissey, too. I don't know if you feel the same way about Morrissey, but it's just something that surrounds, and they're bigger than human. Just a little bit bigger than that.
Saint Selena.
Is the musician element there what the kind of gives them that status? Is there something about the music that they create and their artistry tied specifically to music versus, you know, in any other person?
Well, the music has to be there. Yeah. The music has to be, but I think it's
you can't be like a scientist or an engineer and get to that.
Kind of sad.
Yeah, and it's just like the representation too, and like the struggle is always kind of melancholy, especially with Morrissey, you know, but beautiful. And that's a lot of like Roman Catholic imagery too. It's like it's sorrowful, but it's beautiful, you know. I don't know, Somebody wrote a book on Morrissey and Mexicans. They really did. I read it. It was really good.
Was that the title of it? Morrissey and Mexicans?
It's something like that. I forget what it is.
So, oh man, I just want to keep going. So let's talk about the comments a little bit. So all this emo stuff that you deal with in the comments.
Yeah.
It's actually, I'm gonna have to bring it up that it's good that like you ended up not on the show when the My Music project was going on. I don't know if you ever watched My Music, and there was a character called Scene that would have resembled you quite a bit. But either way, so can you talk about that? Because your style comes up a lot, and people, I think, they'll leave the hateful comments, but there's also so many comments talking about how much they love that they see themselves in you, and that's what also is so great about that you were them and now you're
and they're
them
here.
For you.
Yeah.
But can you talk about like, just kind of the history of like this look and like
I mean, I don't know, like my bangs, like they're not gonna go anywhere. Like I part my hair in sometimes, but I just feel like it makes me look older, and it's not a phase. Like I'm just gonna keep on saying, like sometimes I'm like, damn, like let your bangs grow out, stop with the emo hair, stop wearing all black. It's just here to stay. Like
it's who you are.
It's who I am. It's slimming, and it's just my favorite color.
And Jonathan, the music side of your life, huge part of your life is music.
It's everything.
I know. Can you talk a little bit about just I know there's so much, so it's hard to get into all of it, but like, man, you're just like, and it's not mainstream music. That's the thing too.
No, but with a big following. Like I grew up around the time of like Riot Girl, which is 90s feminist punk rock. I made a lot of zines. Like before this, I had like a small following of people who bought my zines and my art. And music just saved my life. It never saved my life. It gave me the tools to save my own life. And that's how I've always looked at music, and I love music. And I actually just put out a tape last
I was going to bring that up. I heard about that.
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
I had left a band because a lot of horrible things happened inside that band. And I didn't want to play music anymore. I was like, you can have all my songs, you can play them all, I don't care. Like, I'm walking away from it. And I just felt really lonely, and I just wrote everything myself. I played every instrument, I sang every song, wrote every lyric. And somebody decided they liked it and put it out on tape.
Nice.
Amazing.
So I was really happy about that.
In other current events, Ary, you just got engaged, didn't you?
Me? Oh my God. Yes. Well, not just now, but like February. Thank you.
See, he didn't know.
That's just such a weird word.
Her ring is camouflaged by other rings, Jonathan.
But is this the same? This is all mean if it's not. But is this the same guy? Like the childhood sweetheart?
Yes. We've been together for, it's gonna be 11 years in February. So when people say like, "Oh, your fiance," I'm just like, "Oh, that's weird." Like because we grew up together. So it's just, I guess we're engaged, but that's just weird. We're just going to go like elope someday, like maybe on Halloween. I don't know. We just haven't decided.
You're not just going to run off to a Disney theme park and get married there?
No. That would have been me like maybe like a couple years back. But now like working for Disney and stuff, I'm just like, sometimes it's just like, ugh.
I do know. So you're at a Disney store, right?
Yeah.
We're still cast members. Come on. I can't say that anymore. I'm not a cast member anymore, but I don't like to admit that I'm not.
Then you've got a lot of questions from fans.
Let's go to the fans. Okay. We'll circle back. I got so much more.
So this is a early question, but it came in from Eboni Dunn over on Twitter. How did you guys find out about FBE in the first place? How aware were you?
I honestly, I don't even remember. My sister's a big fan, and like we used to always watch them. Like I don't even know what like my first episode was watching, but I love like elders reacting to Slipknot. It was like my favorite.
That was on your form. Talking about my father.
Yeah, that was like my favorite. Yeah. Oh my God. But I just don't even remember. No, I wasn't able to go like last year.
I saw them 3 times in their prime.
Oh
and
God.
I went to a show that was System of a Down and Slipknot, Rammstein all together.
Oh my God. And I love System of a Down so much.
System of a Down. It's a whole other podcast, Ary, but I saw System of a Down right before the Hand album came out.
Oh my
in this small club in New York City. There was maybe 500 people there, and changed my life.
I'm jealous.
There's only a handful of us that can really respect the metal.
Benny, I'm like really holding out hope that you're going to show up to like some FBE Halloween company party fully dressed head to toe in like your favorite Slipknot character.
Yeah. Oh my god! Please, can we? Because I've been like looking. Last year I was Lily Munster last year, but I really want to be Corey Taylor so bad. But like I know not his new mask because I don't really like it, but I like his costume.
I've been trying to get him.
This podcast is diverting into Ary and Benny talking about their favorite.
Do you dive
Slipknot
into the metal
characters.
much?
It depends on the kind.
Sure, no.
Do you don't like Slipknot?
I don't.
Well,
Why?
Slipknot's an acquired thing. Slipknot's great, but they do the one thing that they do. While System of a Down has a lot more layers to it. Korn, don't even mention.
Still have Korn.
No. What do you mean used to? That was like my sixth. No.
Because that's what I grew up with.
Korn was on TRL, not okay.
Yeah, but I used to like Deftones, like Chino Moreno.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
Deftones, great. Saw them a bunch of times too. Oh man, I was such a metalhead.
But I don't know. I just never. I listened to like Slayer. My first concert was Megadeth.
Okay.
But I like Hole. I think that's
like
my
Bikini
favorite
Kill.
band. Yeah, that's my favorite.
Dressin' Dolls.
I love Amanda
me too.
Palmer.
I love her so much too.
Jonathan, who would you say your sixth favorite Slipknot band member is?
I don't know.
All right, let's give it a shoot. So how did you find the show?
Yeah.
I think it was through Kids React. I just thought they were like really funny and really honest and probably smarter than everybody else. Like,
Yeah.
I still feel that way. I still feel that they're smarter than every other generation. The end.
Yeah, the kids and the adults are like really like my favorite. Like sometimes I'm just like, oh, adults react. Bye. Like
You mean elders? Kids and elders.
No, kids and elders.
Elders.
Adults. So I'm like, oh.
The show you're on.
Yeah, I'm just like,
I
oh no.
forget that.
I don't
wanna
care
watch
about my
kids.
peers.
Yeah.
I care about people that have more experience and people with no experience.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it. Just being.
There's definitely truth. It's a weird part of like how like there's more truth kind of at the start and towards the end of your life. You know what I mean?
The innocence and then being wise.
It's and then the middle part, you're just really dicking around. Like you're far from your truth when you're in the middle part of your life. It's very, very deep and interesting.
I'm curious where you probably both saw the video where we announced Adults React because if you were so early. So do you have any memories of like...
Or was it an Instagram?
Some people were shared the video and then did it because a friend told them, but did you actually watch the video and be like, oh, I've got to apply?
I watched the video.
I saw like a post and then I filled it out and then I saw the first Adults React and I was like, oh my God, they didn't call me. I'm so upset. And then I guess I came in for like an interview and I was like, yes.
Did you audition or did you just get right on?
I came in for like, I don't know, I watched like a One Direction video and talked about cats.
Like
you both auditioned?
Screen tests, yeah.
Have you seen that we've started sometimes making people react to their audition tape?
I saw the teens now.
So we have all this footage. It could happen.
No.
I'm not embarrassed of what I said because I remember I corrected myself and I was like, yeah.
Did you have to watch a One Direction video? Ugh. I think I just talked about cats through the whole thing. I don't remember.
You are silent, you're vocally protesting your reaction by just reacting to something completely different. That's a very interesting thing. Like, I'm going to react to a different topic in my head right now because of how much I don't want to react to this. That's like next level psychological response.
Yeah.
All right, I have another question here from JBoo02 over on Twitter. What are some of the dumbest things you've said while reacting? Is there anything, because I know you're generally very, very proud and stand behind anything, but have you ever said something that in hindsight...
that made it into an episode? I always love this question.
You were like...
Oh, why'd they use that?
Like, what? It's okay if you don't. Like, hey, more power to you.
There is.
I don't remember. I feel like a lot of things, like, I watch the episodes, I'm just like, damn, girl. I mean, it is what it is. Like, I say it at the time. Like, that's what I feel there. And then maybe tomorrow I'm going to be like, what?
Yeah, you didn't have any time to think. We ask you some pretty heavy questions sometimes, and there's literally no time to think.
Yeah, it's like, so visceral. Like, it's a reaction.
Oh, I did spill a can of, canned chicken one time for
So you were in the food episode where it was the whole chicken in a can?
Yeah, and like I opened it, but it was so slippery, and I like literally like spilled it all over. And that was like I was kind of like still new, so I was a little bit like I was like, what if it got on the laptop? Because everybody like freaked out, and I was like, oh my God. I was like, so that was kind of pretty like clumsy of me.
Okay, all right.
Do you do the food episodes at all?
I did the Ghost Pepper Challenge with Trudy and...
And then you then... Because it got to the point where the hot food episodes became so horrible for everybody that was in the episode that we've started now asking, do you want to take it on? And that happened. And then you said yes, and you did the lollipop.
Yeah.
Which is the best. Your makeup is just like falling off your face.
Okay, I have to give props to whoever edited that video. Like, it looked like I wasn't dying, but I was. And that thing like messed me up. When I got out of here, I had to stop by at the Burger King out here because I was like, I'm gonna die. I literally like pulled out and like I threw up like at Burger King.
You actually threw up?
Yes. Like no, I was done. I was gonna throw up like there, but I was like, no, I have to because I said that like I eat spicy food and I'm Mexican, and then everyone was gonna be like, this Mexican no come, no sabe, and I'm like, oh my god, like.
It was Luke.
So I had
who
to do
edited it. I just looked it up. Luke, who's been on the podcast.
Oh my god. Editor. Yes, thanks, Luke. Because I look like a badass, and it was like, oh my god, girl, and I was like, I was dying, but I look good.
All right, that was pretty good, pretty solid. Okay, Rohan Willis over on Instagram is looking for some advice. Can you guys recommend a good movie to watch for Halloween?
Damn.
I can recommend a million of them. Like old or new?
Could be anything.
Did they watch the new It? Because I really liked it. Even though I really love like the original one, I love the new one.
I didn't think it was that scary.
It wasn't scary. It was just so cute, and I love the kids.
It was
and
like coming of age. It reminded me of Super 8, but a little bit scarier.
Okay, you're right.
You give me the easy plug, and I can't help
classics.
it. I'm gonna plug something.
Okay,
now.
go.
So you mentioned Super 8. So we made a movie last year that's coming out soon. And the star of the movie was the kid, the star of Super 8, but now he's older now.
That's
so his
cool.
name's Joe Courtney, and he's the star of the movie that we made. So plug F the Prom coming soon.
Nice.
All right, Halloween movie.
I don't know. Nightmare Before Christmas.
I knew you were gonna say that. I just like knew that was gonna be your answer.
Because that's like literally like one of my favorite movies.
But that's your question. Is it a Halloween movie or is it a Christmas movie?
It's whatever you want. It's like 365 days a year. Like I need to watch. No, that's like every day I can watch it. I can recite that whole movie right now.
Favorite character?
Oh, Dr. Finkelstein.
Dr. Finkelstein.
I'm always a Sally guy.
She's cute.
I also don't love the movie.
Oh my god. Get out.
You're like a ghost dog.
Fine. All Tim Burton movies.
Okay,
yeah. All Tim Burton movies.
Be careful about that.
Don't.
Mars Attack.
I love Mars Attack.
Oh my god, yes.
That's your favorite Tim Burton?
Huh?
That's your favorite Tim Burton?
No, it's not my favorite, but I said all of them.
You can't like all of them. The remake of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory?
I liked it.
Okay.
No.
All right, maybe you can.
Benny, you're not allowed to dictate another person's opinion.
God, this is what happens when
Because you even did my favorite Batman. Because
Yeah.
Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman's my
Yes.
favorite Catwoman.
I feel like there's a good Ernest Halloween movie. Ernest Saves Halloween.
Ernest Scared. What is it?
Scared
Scared Straight.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, that's the thing. Ernest, granted, it's not an episode that would do well at all.
Most of the 5%, most of the younger 5% have no idea
that's what I'm
about
talking
any
about. There's a
Ernest movie.
fascination.
Oh, so something for the 5% to watch.
Sure, it can be that. That
don't
wasn't
know,
the
that's
specific
just hard.
question from Rowan Wills.
Christmas, you answered.
Okay, yeah, Nightmare Before Christmas.
Kids reacting
Watch
to
it.
the Ernest movies would be very fascinating to me because would they like it or think it was just so dumb? And it was so dumb, but I loved it.
I think they'll like it.
I think they will too, but I just don't think anyone will click on that video.
I want to know, if you're listening to this podcast right now and you're aware of the Ernest movies, what's your favorite Ernest movie?
For me,
Please?
it's hands down Ernest Goes to Camp. Like, not even a question.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
that's...
that's good.
No, not Ernest Goes to Camp.
Goes to jail, maybe.
It's a good one too.
I thought you said Ghost Jail initially. And I was like, did I not see that Ernest movie about Ghost Jail?
I didn't give a Halloween movie. And I have like a million though. Trick or Treat or like Exorcist. Like I go like old school.
I love Trick or Treat. It's definitely like a good one.
One that I watch every day is like The Craft.
Yeah.
I love The Craft. It's not really too scary. It's just fun.
Mm-hmm. It's like the better version of Mean Girls.
Yeah.
We just gave
We
you
are
a
the weirdos.
ton
This
of
crowd.
answers. You got
I
so
just
much.
love this crowd. You're like, yeah, the better version of Mean Girls, The Craft. And then both of you are like, definitely.
You got a lot of bang for your buck on that question, Rohan Willis. Okay. Pineda on Twitter. Do you enjoy watching yourself in episodes after they come out? Is there any random or funny feedback you've gotten from friends or family? Some
my
people
mom-
don't. There have been reactors we had on this that actually don't.
My
even wanna
mom
watch
like asks me, and she likes to share them to her friends through WhatsApp, and I don't know why she does that. It stresses me out.
So she's proud of you.
Yeah,
and that stresses you out.
and she's like, when is your next video gonna come out? I'm like, okay, stop. Like, no. But like I watch them sometimes, all the time.
I watch them sometimes. I actually hate it. I do it to make sure my point comes across correctly, and then I like try to decide what I need to do better next time.
So you sometimes have felt that even though you end up looking at it and realizing, from what I said, this made sense, but I wish I said it differently?
No, because one time I said, I'll even say it, one time I said something about OCD, like kind of cracked a joke at OCD, and I didn't, it was separate, like when I said the joke and when I admitted to having OCD, so I kind of looked like a jerk.
I see.
So I was like, I have to make sure
giving that immediate context sometimes because of just which is again tough in the moment, and depending in the edit, it's hard to find those things sometimes.
So I was just like, oh man,
if it's not together. Yeah.
They're gonna burn me at the stake, huh?
But it's good though because you don't care, and so you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Phoenix over on Twitter. This ties in almost directly to something Benny talked about earlier with the reverse ratings. But what do you guys think Harry Potter would be like as a horror movie? We kind of saw what it looked like as an R-rated movie.
Which was not a horror movie. It was just reality checks. That R-rated Harry Potter is like, Harry being abused by the Dursleys, and all of that is where we went. But that wasn't like
so. I don't.
horror.
I am a firm believer that you do not have to answer yes to this. Benny is obviously a huge Potter fanatic. It's okay. You guys are honest, true. You speak your mind. How do you feel about the Potterverse? Are the books something you guys read, or the movie something you saw? Do you know what house you're in?
Oh, I do know what house I'm in because my friends tagged me in it.
What's your house?
Slytherin.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I wanted to be in Slytherin, but every time I took the test, it was giving me Gryffindor, and I was like, no. I
don't
no.
know what it means.
Okay, like, I really, like, I have, like, the movies, and, like, I read, like, the first 2 books because my dad bought me them in Spanish, and I was like, oh, cool. But, like, I don't know, like, I like it, but I'm not like, oh, my God, give me all the Harry Potter things.
So R-rated Potter would be what?
No,
horror movie Potter.
Yeah, horror Potter.
It would be about an hour and a half too long. But I don't know. You can't make it scary.
Betty could make it. Betty, you could write a spec Harry Potter horror script.
I won't go into it. I've talked too much on this podcast.
Benny could do it. Let Benny know. Benny Fine on Twitter. Ask him if you have follow-up questions for this.
The 2,700 people that follow me all unfollow by the time my
No, you just be Harry Potter is a horror movie, a thread. And then you just put it all in one tweet and then see what kind of traction you get. So Phoenix, you're already on Twitter. I don't know if you follow Benny. Follow Benny and he will give you a much better answer than I can give you for this. And then the last question we have here from the viewers, Mawdzzz H. What do you guys like and not like about YouTube in general, or being a part of a YouTube channel?
Commercials.
Commercials is a dislike.
I guess like pros and cons to being on the show even. Would you consider there to be actual like things that are a little bit negative about the experience?
Stalkers. And then the pros, stalkers. Like, it just depends on like who you want to stalk you.
Yeah. With lack of a better
It's like,
word.
what was that? Some comedian has a great bit about how somebody is only creepy if they're not attractive enough. You know what I mean?
hard.
No, I know that from personal
Well, you're
experience.
not
No,
wrong.
but I can
No,
see
but
that.
you know what I mean? Like if somebody smiles at you and they're attractive, like, oh, like they must be nice. If they smile at you and they're not attractive, you're like, oh, that guy's creepy or something. You're like, wait a minute.
Bad.
I'm saying like it's
I get it.
It's an interesting.
Yeah.
What would you say from we've talked about like dealing with some hate comments, dealing with people disagreeing with your opinions, like has that sometimes hurt?
Nope.
No, it hurts kind of, but like I said, I grew up punk rock. Like I've had the worst things like said to me, thrown at me physically. You know what I mean? Like that's not gonna do it. You gotta be original if you're gonna really hurt me. I like when people say mean things and they're really funny. Like I haven't heard them before. Like at least be original. But really, it doesn't bother me.
We should have a party reading hate comments.
Oh my gosh.
I'm down.
That would be a long ass party. But no, It's cool. I love just having the opportunity to have a bigger platform, like, and I'll take the bad with the good any day. Any day.
I'm going to want to elaborate on that a little bit more. Can you speak about like how you view this as a platform? Because I think it's true, but it might not be the way that people even view the idea and the role of a reactor, and that it's not just the company that has the megaphone. You guys actually can be the megaphone. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, with my zines, I only had like a very small demographic, people that were into the same thing I was, like same scene. This, like, I talked to so many young kids and about being bullied, about abuse. I always tell them, like, talk to your parents if you can, or, some kind of authority figure. But I always give people my real advice. My like Insta stories are where I open up completely. That way I don't feel so weird when people come up to me and say, like, they have like this one-sided relationship with where they know me and I don't really know them. But I put it all out there because...
Well, you've been through a lot. There's definitely even the limited amount that I know about things that you've been through. You've been through a lot in your life. I read a little bit of it from the forum. So, you kind of are... Can you talk about like your choice to kind of turn that into what you turn it into? I
always feel like you can sit on your pain or you can use it. You can take it and you can share it with somebody because you never know who needs that message. And like as a survivor of abuse, thinking I was going to die before the age of 12 with my heart problems, like things like that. Everything else seems so minuscule. So I just want to make people feel like they're not alone, like kind of lessen their alienation. And yeah, the thing about survivors is you have to show your power of surviving. You know what I mean? You have to show people that you can take this shit. And I'm okay with that, just as long as it helps somebody else. And it's super cool because it's not even like people that can be like, oh, they're just like people in LA. Like it's everywhere, like all across the world. Like I did like my first like live story on Instagram and it was so awkward as hell. But as the people were like, oh, hey, from like Brazil. I was like, oh, damn. Like, do you really think like I'm like interesting? Cool. Like, hi back. Like, it's really cool that
it's interesting having a universal message and a worldwide like platform. And it's very, there'd be a section at the end. We always do shout outs, not just for people, but for countries, because people leave the comment, I'm listening from wherever they're listening from, and you'll listen to these things and you'll be like, Slovenia? Like there's somebody, there was a country that I didn't even recognize in Africa that somebody like left the thing from, and I was like, God, like, dang, like it's ridiculous that, you know what I mean? Some of the stuff that we're talking about is relatable or entertaining to people like across these world, but especially when if you're talking about something as powerful as Jonathan was in terms of just something that can actually help on a, in personal, in level on top of that, you're magnifying a very positive message, like to the almost like most of your capability.
There was a letter that Rafi read at one of the company meetings recently. I'm unfortunately forgetting the location of where it was.
Was it like Nashville or Tennessee?
It was Tennessee, and then there was another time I think we read from something from a more like Middle Eastern country where they talked about some of the subject matter that we talk about, whether it's things like same-sex rights or
racism
and things like that, where they were talking about how no one where they are from talks about these things, and they are feeling completely alone and feeling like they're the only gay kid that they are aware of, in their city, and that this show allows them to see people that are just like them and see these people that they've grown to really like and become fans of say all of these things that impacts them in a way that you just don't think about sometimes. But it feels like for both of you that you're aware of the fact of those things. And that's part of what maybe even drew both of you to wanting to be on the show in the first place. They're nodding if you're listening.
No, completely. Yes. Number one, that was the number one reason. It was for like the younger me. That's what it was for.
Oh, you guys.
That's why I try and remind myself of that a lot when I'm in situations or when I'm trying to figure out like how to help or be useful. And I try and think back to like, what did me like 15 years ago like desperately like need to hear? And I try and think of my, because when you come up with those answers, it becomes that much more useful to like somebody else, because I don't know, it's a way of rewiring your brain.
It goes into a little bit of when we had the animators of In a Heartbeat on the podcast, the animated short that they did about the two boys that like each other. Did you guys see that cartoon?
No.
Okay, you guys should watch that.
Oh my God.
We covered it, it went
Incredible.
very viral, but it's an animated short that almost feels like a Pixar short, but it's about two boys in like middle school that have a crush on each other, and it's an animated piece. It's very.
It got
very
nominated for an Oscar.
Nice.
It's now to a place where it could be nominated for. Well, it's nominated in a not the actual animated short category. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
They might end up getting that far, but they talked about how because both of them are gay and made the short. And the feedback they got paralleled a lot of the feedback that we would get from like the Kids React to Gay Marriage episode, where the piece of content itself was being able to be used by them to show family members and people in their life in a more palatable way to relate to the reality that they are gay. And then it isn't just them trying to tell them, they're able to like look at this cartoon, look at these children talking about this, and we're able to use it as a way to help them come out or help them explain to an estranged family member. And it's very powerful stuff that I definitely am very aware of and why we don't shy away from these subjects, but you have to be careful of when and how because you minimize its impact if you come off like, oh, we constantly are preaching about these things. Even though preaching's a weird thing to say, we just happen to be in LA, so we end up becoming a little bit on the liberal side of preachingness because that's who's here. But as you watch our content, it's all who happen to be reacting and what they actually think, so I don't really view it as preaching, but I understand the criticism. But that's just the thing, like... were you in an episode like that, Jonathan, talking a little about something
about
like that?
label? It was a race one, and I talked about labels. But I just want to say really fast, like my parents were involved in ACT UP, which is like the organization that brought awareness to gay causes. They were activists growing up. Me coming out to them was still one of the hardest things I ever had to do. So it's like I could only imagine, like, you know, being kicked out because you know you're gay or. I grew up in the safest like way possible to like come out to my family, and
it was still so hard.
It was still the hardest.
And that's the thing too, and I think that's a very good point. We're getting very serious now, but that's a very good point in terms of like I worked at Walt Disney World for so many years, and that's the joke there is you're gay until proven straight when you're a male there because it's just such an open company down there. And I would deal with that too, where I would have friends that like it was fairly we all kind of knew it was fairly obvious and all of these things, but they hadn't officially come out. And I remember people coming out to me over my life, even there, and the moment and the fear and all of these things that are there that for me, I'm like, it made me think those types of things of like, what is this like for someone that isn't in this environment where you know it's going to be okay, but you're still that terrified. And it always would break my heart, but at the same time, like those are always the happiest moments of my life when a friend would come out to me, where I'm like, beyond it being like, you're finally going to be able to be you. And that just makes me love you even more and like all of that. But that's not everyone's scenario. And even some people listening to this podcast would disagree with that statement. And that kind of just is what it is.
I think that's it. That was all we had from.
So we're going to move on to some industry stuff.
Ary, yeah.
So before we do that, let's talk about these. There's the thing, okay? So when you're coming in to do this podcast, I know you, but I haven't talked to you in a while just because we used to, both of you, we used to be able to catch up a little bit, but now I don't really see you as much. So I was asking some of the other people, like Kyle and JC and Cynthia, like, hey, can you? Is there anything new going on kind of with them? And all of them across the board were like, oh, well, you got to talk to her about the hot Cheetos.
Oh, my God.
So apparently, like, you want us to swap out the snacks and have hot Cheetos around.
Yeah.
So talk about your love affair with the hot Cheetos.
It's a really bad vice that I've had. I don't even remember the first time I ate hot Cheetos, like, but I know I was like small or like used to go really early to school so I can go to the liquor store and buy like chips. And then, like, now they have the extra hot Cheetos, so I only like the black bag. Like, I can tolerate, like, the regular hot Cheetos, but the extra black bag is, like...
It sounds like she has rewired her taste buds so that all other tastes are not as good as that.
I have, like, a problem. Like, chips, I have to always open my chips upside down because they taste way better like that. Because
more of the powder and flavoring
it's
goes
underneath.
To the bottom.
And nobody understands, but it's so... See, you're the only person that knows because everyone's like, what are you doing?
Is Jonathan's reaction of like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Wait, have you ever been to like 7-Eleven and got the nacho cheese in
Yes.
here?
Yeah, I like that, but my favorite thing is just like lemon. And that's like my choice.
Right before we were rolling this podcast, she broke down
I wish I had some. I even like emailed back like, will there be hot Cheetos? Yes, I did. And Cynthia replied, maybe. And so far, there's none.
I think Cynthia's super into hot Cheetos too.
Yeah, she always like DMs me back when I post things. And because I'm always eating hot Cheetos. It's really bad.
Talk to us about the cereal.
By the way, hashtag not an ad. This is not sponsored by Hot
this
Cheetos.
Oh my gosh,
is
please
gonna be-
sponsor me. I follow the guy that made hot Cheetos on Instagram. I hope he watches this. I hope he's part of the 5%.
Wait, is he like a food scientist?
He's
What do you mean?
he's Mexican.
He's a Mexican. He was a janitor for late.
He graduated from my college.
Oh my god, he's so cool. Anyways,
This is like, I was watching this, I'm going really off tangent now, but I was watching the sneaker documentary on Netflix or something, or it was a documentary about different designers or something, and this episode was about this, like, the main sneaker guy that did like all the Jordans for like, and I don't know his name, but if you're super into sneakers, like, you know this guy. And all the start of the documentary was just them showing a picture of this guy to different, like, you know, young people on the street, or actually all different like ages, but they were all clear like sneaker files, and each one of them would flip their shit when they saw a picture of the guy, their sneaker designer that they loved.
Yeah.
And now I'm realizing that this
a
Hot
thing.
Cheetos guy has a similar following.
And I guess he's a cultural hero at the same time.
Yeah, he's a successful businessman. Chicano businessman.
but I love hot Cheetos.
And you explained to us that you eat them like cereal, but you use lemon juice instead of milk.
Yeah. So, but I don't I won't pour my chips first and then squeeze one lemon, because then my chips will get soggy. I have to squeeze like 3 lemons first in a bowl. I wish I had so you guys can see. And then when I like to get if I want to be nasty, I'll dip them and eat them and suck my fingers like that. But or if I don't want to ruin my manicure, I'll eat them with a spoon.
So what I would say, what I've learned from being on the internet for over 13 years is that we are going to find not just one, but multiple people that are going to say, "Oh my God, me too."
Yeah.
Because that is the way of the world.
And what's fascinating is I really think there is some chemical compound in hot Cheetos that is like highly addictive, or it reprograms your taste buds in a way that just wires you for
I read
that.
about
Because
it.
the way you're talking like somebody that's like, no, I'm not even, it's
Like
not
a
even a pack a
Jehovah's
day.
Witness.
Like
I'm like a
unfiltered, like give me
Jehovah's
You're at the door.
unfiltered.
Have you had
2
your hot
packs a
Cheetos
day.
today?
Yeah.
Like I need the strong flavor. I need to open it from the bottom. I need to rub it into my pores.
Yeah.
I need to.
And it's like hot Cheetos or hot Cheetos with lemon. And then it goes to hot Cheetos Tapatio or Valentina or sour cream. Hot Cheetos and sour cream is really bomb too. But that's more like a dessert. Because
Hot Cheetos for dessert.
Let's move on to whatever. What's the next question?
I love hot Cheetos.
I was going to go back. It's back for us. It's kind of advice industry stuff.
Industry stuff. Let's do it.
Okay. Graham Butler over on YouTube wanted to know, Benny, maybe you can help answer this. You've answered it on panels before. I know that. Graham Butler. So my best friend and I started a channel about 5 months ago. We have almost the same number of subscribers now as we did back when we asked our friends to subscribe when we first started. What are most people doing wrong when they're wanting more subscribers? I feel like the last 4 months we've been standing still.
So I don't necessarily know that there's a doing wrong per se. That's maybe the wrong way of looking at it. I think that, as I've always said, but it's even more true now, it is extremely difficult to find success in any line of work, let alone in the entertainment industry, let alone on YouTube now. And it was hard even back when YouTube was newer, and the amount of people even going back 10 years ago that would have asked the same question as you are now 10 years ago, even though it is comparatively so small, and never could find an audience. So there's always an element of lightning in a bottle. I would say the best advice that I can give, and there's a few, is what is it that you're making, and trying to understand what are other people in the same area making that is similar to that, and what's working for them, and then finding out what's working for them, and then applying it back to yourself, not to just do it, but to find what's your own voice inside of something that is already working inside the genre that you're most excited about, and trying to find a topical spin for the idea of things that are search worthy. So even if you're not the person that maybe loves Game of Thrones or loves hot Cheetos, you can still find a way inside of what you're doing to make sure that you're still making content around some of these tentpole events. So when people are searching for it, maybe they will find you. Other thing is collaboration. As much as it doesn't work as well as it used to, finding other people around your same size. It's so important to network and try, if you're able, to go to things like VidCon and find other creative people that are having the same questions that you have. Why can't we grow? A lot of us grew together, and there was an element of that where all of us helped each other in the beginning, and it was from a pure place that I think still can exist. And if anything, a lot of the reactors are showing this right now between all of their personal channels and finding ways to work together, grow together, and it's important to do things like that. Last is how do you find a skill? What do I mean by that? If you can edit, if you can do special effects, if there's something that you can provide another channel that they can't do on their own, it's a great way to collaborate with somebody in a way that isn't making a video. For example, going back years and years and years, Danebo, who created the Annoying Orange, used to do special effects for some of our Lost parodies because that was a skill that he had. It was a way for us to work together. He helped us out. We promoted him, etc. So if you can then go to someone, even not to the people that have millions and millions of subscribers, but let's say you have 4,000 subscribers and somebody has 40,000 subscribers, they would probably be less likely to collab with you. But if you can do special effects and then you can reach out and say, hey, look, I'll do it completely for free. Just put me in your end screen. You can start building a name, and you have to be trying to find discovery at a very hard to find discovery time. You need to do it because you love it, because you really can't ever give up, literally ever. And that's a very daunting thing, but the way YouTube is, you literally can never stop. And we've grown into a company, but even the company now can never stop. There's no such thing as a season. Are you ready to never stop? You got to ask yourself that, because I don't have a life because of what I've decided to do on YouTube.
I was going to chime in as somebody much less qualified to answer that question, but Benny, in his last 30 seconds there, touched on the answers that I always give. Which is consistency and passion. You need to have a very strong passion for why you're doing a thing, because you need to maintain a ridiculous consistency to even give yourself a shot at achieving any kind of success. If you cannot hold yourself accountable and upload every week or whatever that schedule is and get something up there, and the only way to be that consistent is to be incredibly passionate about a thing, so that even if your co-host isn't available or that camera doesn't work and you have to do it on the webcam or something else, you need to find ways of powering through that. And it all boils down to the why of why you're doing a thing. Because if the why is because I want to be famous on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram or something, you need to acknowledge that that's kind of that's basically hitting the lottery. So you're saying, oh, my financial plan is I'm winning the lottery. And you'd be like, okay, that happens for less than 1%. I'll put your chips there if that's where you want to do it.
I would even say you've done things in music. It's the same thing. The amount of artists that are out there, especially in today's day and age, it's almost impossible to be found. But you do it because you love it.
Exactly. Yeah. But if your reason is because I just want to create, I just want to make a thing, I just want to put this out there, even if one person listens to it, even if nobody listens to it, I get joy out of this action almost for myself, then success comes from the act of fulfilling that production versus how many views or likes you have on an episode. So it boils down to the why, it boils down to passion, it boils down to consistency. Okay, last question that we have is for Benny. Daniel Pikal over on YouTube. You've got so many groups of reactors and things they've reacted to. How do you keep in mind who has already reacted to what?
That's a great question. I don't even know the number of how many episodes there's actually been across just the, as we affectionately call kids, teens, adults react, the OG, as we call the format, because it's the original format, before there were all the other shows. Man, the number of that, it's got to be close to 1,000 at this point.
Personally, speaking of someone who does not have to produce, I will say that whenever I'm trying to, I start Googling. I'm
but here's what's crazy, and I wish we had Kyle or Ethan here, just the producers that are now kind of overseeing the shows more. I have a ridiculous memory, and I don't forget almost anything. And I know, I couldn't start listing off every single episode we did, but if someone said, what about this? I'd be able to tell you if we did it. I could tell you what generation reacted to it, and there'd be a pretty decent shot. I could name at least half the cast of that episode.
Whoa.
So I have
wait, now I'm going to try. Keep talking, Benny.
Oh, God, I'm putting myself on the spot. So I'll definitely be able to know that we did it. And it's one of these things that, I assume people are searching. We do have that every React episode ever playlist on YouTube, so I'm sure that's a resource that maybe is being used by producers now, that they'll go to that playlist and do a search to be did we do this before? But I just somehow keep track of it all and know what I would not be able to do that for some of the other shows. I wouldn't be able. I'm always very impressed that it hasn't, at least maybe it has happened. Do They Know It, which I always say probably my favorite show. I love Do They Know It. But there's so many 90s episodes and 2000s episodes and 80s episodes that I'm how do they keep track of, have we done this song? Just the individual song? Because there's 7 songs, I think, in every episode, and that's a lot to keep track of. I know for a while it's also have we done that artist before? And there's rules we have built in of it's fine to repeat an artist, but it shouldn't be in back-to-back episodes and different things like that to try to have variance. That I would not be able to tell you like, oh no, that song's gonna do. They know that I can't do. But OG episodes, I got you. You're gonna randomly give me an episode, John. How long is it gonna take before I move on to something else?
Wait, what?
So you're gonna give me a subject, and I have to tell you the age group. That's the game.
And we're gonna see if you can guess like half of the
cast.
Oh, God.
That's gonna be harder if you go really back in the past.
Spice Girls.
Spice Girls was Teens React to Spice Girls 20th anniversary. You have Becca was in that episode, right?
So far, no.
Becca, but I thought you were in the description.
I'm in the description of Teens React to Spice Girls.
And there's no Becca in that?
Not in the description. Wait, let's see if the description is wrong.
No, the description's not wrong. I already blew it, guys. Michaela?
No.
No?
It's okay. You tried.
Thomas, Jillian, Nia, Megan and Shannon, Troy, Everett, Seth, Daniel, Chelsea, and Jasper.
I was gonna go Seth. Either way, so maybe not cast. But yeah, that's the thing.
I will attest.
I will actually say I will get 100% if I'm just gonna tell you the generation.
Wavy eyebrows.
Wavy eyebrows? That was College Kids.
Yep. ASDF movie 10.
Oh, 10? Okay, because the original ASDF, and it's not ASDF, it's ASTF, but the original ASTF was with Kids React, one of the early episodes. This was more recent with teens.
Oh, he's got. Well, I'll pull one more.
We can do this all day.
Here. High Stranger.
High Stranger? That was Teens React.
Yeah. Yeah. He is. Benny has a pretty encyclopedic knowledge.
That was a good one. And in my mind, I can even see Thomas impersonating the High Stranger. Anyway. That's a fun one.
Any feedback from
yeah, so a couple things. First of all, nothing really came up this week about demonetization issues on YouTube, which was this massive thing that everybody on YouTube was talking about, and it's been this way for a while. I'm not going to go into it fully, but how episodes or videos that people are putting up are not able to get ads. Very complicated. But since there were no questions about it, I'm not going to spend time in the podcast to talk about it, just because if you are interested and you're listening, ask for next week. Obviously, Rafi or myself can speak a lot to this. I have a lot of opinions on it, but it wasn't really brought up. But it definitely is something that does impact FBE content, but we've talked about it before on the podcast, not to the extent of some channels that are more controversial all the time. And also there's a lot of the episodes that we've covered over time that we actually don't put ads on anyway that probably would have been demonetized. Whenever we kind of talk about more serious issues, we tend not to want to put ads against those things. So that's part of it too, but it definitely does impact. And anyway, so just something, if you are interested, bring it up. I don't want to...
Please use the hashtag FBE Podcast, because that's how I search the YouTube comments and Twitter comments.
But don't want to assume. So I want to bring up, to start, the Mickey Mouse Club episode of Adults React that came out. So Mickey Mouse Club is back on social media, with new Mouseketeers. So we were like, oh, this is such a perfect opportunity to have a generational thing. So we used the adults so we could have younger adults and older adults, and showed clips from every version of the Mickey Mouse Club, from the 50s to the 70s to the 90s to today, and then talked about all the 90s kids that became so famous that we didn't even know. Did either of you watch Mickey Mouse? Well, we're close enough in age, so you watched 90s Mickey Mouse Club. You were probably too young, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I really didn't watch it. I know, wasn't it Christina Aguilera, Justin Timberlake?
I wanted to be in Kids Incorporated, though.
Oh, that just had its 30th anniversary.
Well, I had no idea. I wanted to be
sing
that.
The song? Kids Incorporated. K-I-D-S. And that was on before Mickey Mouse Club. That's why.
Was it really?
It was Kids Incorporated, then Mickey Mouse Club in an hour. That was what the block was. And
to
Jennifer Love Hewitt
so
was on Kids Incorporated.
Oh, good thing I didn't.
And I believe Mario Lopez was too.
Oh.
Playing the drums, I believe.
So Benny can name the cast of Kids Incorporated.
So we did that episode, which was one of my favorite episodes because it's so interesting seeing the different reactions across the board in terms of how times change through what is being presented as the every teen, and young teen from the 50s, and how proper everything was, to the complete weirdness of the 70s. That 70s opening to the Mickey Mouse Club is one of the weirdest things.
I love the moves.
Oh my god, it's crazy. So Morgan in that episode, she just started laughing and she couldn't even keep it together because it's like whatever their name is, and they're like it's so crazy. But anyway, really fun to see, and we keep bringing it up, but one of our reactors is one of the Mouseketeers. Will from Teens React is in the Mouseketeers, which is so crazy. So it was also really fun to see without prodding, without telling them. And some of them knew, some of them didn't even know, but they saw the footage and like, it's Will, and I just thought that was really cool.
Do you think if you're a Mouseketeer, you automatically get fast passes? Do you think?
I would hope so. They deserve it. I would let them in. That reminds me of a random story of when I was working at Mission Space at Epcot, and I was what they call a coordinator, a lead, what they'd call in Disneyland. So you're not a manager, but you're kind of in charge. And someone came up to me, a guest, being like, listen, it was a really long line. Can I skip the line? I've got Chris Kirkpatrick, was that in sync?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
I think so. It's like I've got
Jay saying yes.
Okay.
The weird hair one.
So the girl comes up to me. It's like, listen, I got Chris from NSYNC, Amaya from The Real World, and a little person wrestler. And can we skip the line? And I was like, if you present to me NSYNC, Amaya from The Real World, and a little person wrestler, yes. And they did. And they skipped the line because I'm like, what kind of random? I was like, why are they all? How did they become friends? How did this happen? Anyway.
Which one's Amaya?
Amaya was, I think, I'm going to get this wrong because I stopped watching The Real World right after this. Maybe it was Real World Miami? Look her up, Amaya. She was crazy. But anyway, they were there and I let them on the ride. Other times, though, I didn't let other people on the ride that were probably more famous than that. But anyway.
Is there any other feedback from the fans?
Yes, there is. So,
actually, weird celebrities Benny has let on rides.
It could be a whole other show. But feedback from actually last episode's podcast. We're actually, for the first time, 5%, we're providing feedback from the feedback.
Yeah.
And so last week, we talked about anime and how difficult it is to cover anime on the show and why we've barely done it because it's so vast and how you're supposed to make people happy because the anime community gets very upset about things and how do you really showcase this properly. And what was so great is that it was direct feedback and good dialogue from the 5%. And I love seeing how from maybe it's listening to the podcast more, maybe it's just because you are so dedicated to the content, that this understanding that you guys are starting to have of how difficult it can be to pick something and how do you cover something properly, because I'd see a lot of comments in there of someone kind of breaking down, hey, I don't really care, I just, whatever you show would be fine, but then someone else would reply and be like, but did you listen to what they were talking about? Like, but if you do that, it's going to anger almost everybody because you didn't show it properly. And the back and forth of people trying to figure it out and trying not to figure it out, and loved the dialogue that was in there. There also was people that were just stopping by because anime was in the title and just would say, react to whatever anime
I see Yuri, I clicked.
Well, there's a lot of people even breaking down of like, this is how you cover Yuri on Ice, and then there's other people saying, no, that's not the way you cover Yuri on Ice, which is our problem. So loved seeing that. And this brings up things that we think about sometimes, and would love the 5%'s feedback of thinking about, can we one day figure out how we build some type of a system or a fan club or something that allows the fans that want to participate more to be part of something like a newsletter, but in a cooler way, where they can give suggestions and help us figure out how to cover certain things. Like if you're a really big fan of something and you're in the 5%, maybe you're part of this extra new thing that we do that allows us to be like, look, we really want to cover an anime. We need to come together and figure this out and include people more to help us figure out the experts if we don't have them internally, or how to help us pick and say, you know what, screw it, the 5% wants Yuri on Ice, we're doing it because they told us to in a controlled environment. So I think we think about a lot of like how to have more entry points. So something to think about. What do you guys think? Let us know how we might be able to do that.
Cool. Anything else or shoutouts?
That's what I got. We can go to shoutouts if it's time.
We need a hashtag though. Is it hot Cheetos? Have we already decided?
Well, we can't, if we don't do it, she's gonna like.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even get hot Cheetos, so.
Well, I'm fine with the hot Cheetos.
Hot Cheetos.
It's that or the Macarena.
Hot Cheetos.
All right, so special shoutouts this week to Tech Lady.
And a shout out to Alyssa Lockman.
All about sex.
Amethyst Beloved.
Aniston Anarchist.
Anton Svetin.
Bernice Chu.
Bert Maria.
We do terrible with pronunciation, so it's okay,
Bert
Jonathan.
Maria.
Embrace
Bert
it.
Maria 10, I'm sorry.
Candace Chu.
Epic Norvik 97.
Federica Tagliacarne.
Flavio Cabori Naguti.
Grant Butler. Just give it your best, Jonathan.
Invitism?
Careful.
Hey. Jag 519.
Jalen Salon.
Jason Kuo.
Julie Joropio.
Kyle de Blasio.
Kyle IDK.
Kyungbin Min.
Thank goodness.
Nope,
there's more?
Yeah, start the next one.
Living Able.
Lord Francify.
Mama T.
Michaela A.
Nikki Grajek.
Peter Fontaine.
Rakashti.
Rafael Kutia.
Riken Kaiser.
Rodrigo Ortiz.
Rose Hyman.
Shara Samsudin.
Sadiq Chudley.
Stephen Joshua.
Super Mustache 555.
The Zero.
Unknown Thief.
Urbo 666. Hey.
And thank you guys so much. There's if you're listening from a country that you hear on this list or you don't hear on this list, please leave a comment down below that you're listening from, and you'll make it onto our countries list. There's at least one incredibly cool person in the 5% in each one of these countries. Special shout outs to Argentina,
Australia.
Canada.
Germany.
Honduras,
Iceland.
India.
Italy.
Mauritania, which I did not realize was in West Africa,
Netherlands.
Norway.
Philippines.
Saudi Arabia.
Slovenia.
Slovenia.
Oh, sorry, I put it twice.
2 people in
Double shout out to
Hey,
Slovenia.
Spain.
Sweden.
UK.
And the USA.
Alaska. There's a friend in Alaska. So thank you guys so much for listening and leaving comments and telling us where you're listening from and using the hashtag FBE Podcast to ask your questions, whether they be about FBE, YouTube, the entertainment industry. Any question that you have, leave that hashtag FBE Podcast and we will potentially pull it for next week's episode. But special thanks to Jonathan and Ary for hanging out with
Thanks
us.
for sharing a small part of your life for the last 2 years, guys, and being proactive and getting on the show so early. It means a lot to me, and I say this a lot, but I truly mean it. I'm better for knowing both of you, and I thank you for what you do.
Aw.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for having
so
us.
much. Thank you. Thank you.
Just have us here like every day of the week.
I'm incredibly thankful to be around badass humans that DGAF and just love, like, and sharing their opinions and taking the good with the bad, as they said with Jonathan and the platform. And man, it's pretty incredible the kind of team and the people we're able to surround ourselves with on a daily basis here at this company. And I'm especially thankful that you guys kind of drove out here and decided to spend the rest of your evening here and be a part and hang out with the 5% and not necessarily the shows that you're kind of used to.
I mean, the badass people are the people that are running this show.
Yeah.
So thanks for having us.
And I think I'm doing Jonathan's. I'm giving them a good name.
Yeah,
Right?
100%, 100%.
Thank you.
I mean, I knew that before this podcast, though, with just the shows that I've seen you be a part of. So you have never let me down once in my namesake. I've been like, he is.
All right, so we have a toe of Satan over here for you, Ary. And,
Yay, bring it on.
finish as we do with every podcast.
I asked Katie that day, I was like, can I have it? And I took it home and I had it in my freezer forever. And then I let my boyfriend taste it. Oh, at the time, boyfriend. And he was like, ooh. And I was like, yeah, right? Like, it was intense.
And then he went to
I was
the
like, wait
Burger
until
King and
I was
threw
like,
up
wait.
next door.
I know,
came
right?
back and said, marry me.
Yeah. He was like, oh, yes, the toe of Satan.
Cool. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We'll be back next week with another special guest. Use that hashtag. And thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.